Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This time we're going deep on Naval Ravikant. Entrepreneur philosopher, you know the guy.
Definitely.
You sent us some excerpts from the Almanack of Naval Ravikant, which, by the way, it's packed with wisdom on wealth and happiness.
Yeah, it's a gold mine.
So we'll be breaking down each chapter, pulling out those gold nuggets A&D, giving you real-world examples to bring it all home.
Love it.
I'm excited to unpack this one, and I think you're really going to help connect all the dots and make his wisdom actionable for our listeners.
Ravikant's advice is so practical, he's not just talking theory. This guy's lived it. And the cool thing is it applies whether you're aiming for Silicon Valley or just a more fulfilling life period.
I like that.
We'll also be exploring his take on getting rich without getting lucky. So how to make your own luck instead of just hoping for the best.
So let's jump right in. The book starts with wealth building, but key Ravikant is clear wealth is not the same as money. What's the distinction?
Well, he really separates wealth, money, and status. Money is just a tool, right? Like a medium of exchange. Status is your social ranking, fleeting, dependent on others.
Right.
True wealth is owning assets that generate income even when you're sleeping.
It's like a system that works for you even when you're not working.
Exactly. Freedom and independence.
So you're not chasing a paycheck, but building something that pays you.
Exactly.
This makes me think about my friend Sarah. She has that Etsy shop that brings in passive income, or even owning rental properties or investing in a stock that just keeps performing.
Those are great examples. Those all give you a taste of money working for you.
Okay, but how do we build those wealth-generating assets?
That's where specific knowledge comes in. Ravikant says identifying your unique skills, things you're naturally good at, that society values, that's crucial for big rewards.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where you excel, and it's hard to train someone to replace you.
Right.
So time for self-reflection, everyone. What are your strengths? What sets you apart? Ravikant excelled at sales and analysis, high-value skills in the startup world.
For sure.
He contrasts those with things that are easily replaceable, like basic coding or generic marketing.
Yeah, it's about finding your edge, the combo of talents and experience that make you you.
Your Dilbert, as he calls it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, like Joe Rogan or Scott Adams found their voice-created authentic products didn't get lost in the competition.
And that takes courage, putting yourself out there, owning your work, despite the fear of judgment that connects to another big theme, accountability.
Huge one.
Ravikant himself shared his philosophical views, invested in crypto, even when others were skeptical.
He recognizes the downside of failing is pretty low these days. You're not going to debtor's prison.
True.
Owning your actions often leads to more responsibility, equity, and leverage.
And speaking of leverage, let's break down the types Ravikant talks about.
Okay, so you've got permissioned leverage, like labor people working for you and capital money that can be invested. VUT, the game changer, is permissionless leverage code and media.
Okay, I'm listening.
Those are the tools that create products that generate value. Even when you're not working, you reach a global audience. No one's permission needed.
So even if you're not a coder, you can leverage the internet through writing podcasts, videos. It's like having a tireless team working for you 24/7, spreading your ideas, helping you build wealth.
Exactly.
But there's got to be a catch, right?
The catch is leverage amplifies your judgment, good and bad. That's why honing your judgment is so important, understanding the long-term consequences of your actions.
How do we get better at that?
Seeking mentors, avoiding stupid games, like chasing status and brutal honesty with yourself.
He's all about the long game, right? In business and life, building relationships based on trust and integrity, knowing the biggest rewards come from steady effort.
Like that story he tells about his co-founder always giving him the benefit of the doubt. That kind of partnership breeds success.
So be patient. Find your specific knowledge. Use leverage wisely. It's a lot to process.
For sure.
Ready for the next chapter?
Hit me with it.
Building judgment. Buckle up. I'm taking notes on this one.
So building judgment, Ravikant says it's about clear thinking more than just being smart.
So it's not just about IQ.
Right. It's about breaking down complexity and explaining things simply.
Like a good teacher.
Yeah. He uses Richard Feynman as an example.
Oh, the physicist?
Yep. Feynman believed he could explain any concept in just 3 pages.
Now that's a challenge.
Mm.
Could you explain your work to a child, for instance?
That's the test, right? It makes you think, what's the essence of what I do and how do I communicate that clearly?
So simple yet powerful.
Ravikant also loves mental models. He sees them as shortcuts for decision-making.
Ooh, mental models. I love those.
Right. He talks about inversion complexity theory, the principal agent problem, all sorts of goodies.
Inversion, I'm playing with that one. It's like approaching a problem backward, figuring out what not to do.
Exactly. It helps avoid mistakes. Instead of how do I make money, ask what are the common reasons businesses fail?
Flip the script.
You clarify the path by focusing on what you don't want.
So counterintuitive.
And complexity theory, the world's made up of these interconnected systems, always in flux.
Always changing.
Small changes can have huge unintended consequences. Be humble, we can't predict everything.
Like the butterfly effect.
Right, a butterfly flaps its wings and boom, a tornado in Texas, who knew?
So adapt and be flexible.
Ravikant says our ego, our need to be right, can blind us.
Oh, I feel that.
We cling to beliefs even when they're no longer serving us. Got to question those assumptions. Be open to new info. Change your mind when the facts change.
It's like that advice we give friends going through breakups, so obvious from the outside.
Totally.
But in our own relationships, we're blindsided by emotion.
It's a reminder to check our biases.
So we've got clear thinking mental models, shedding that ego. What else does he recommend for building judgment?
Reading Huge Advocate an hour a day with the right books puts you at the top of any field.
He's talking our language.
She says follow your curiosity, explore different topics.
So not just the serious stuff.
Nope. He even admits to enjoying junk reading sometimes.
That's a relief. I thought it was all textbooks.
It's about nurturing that love of learning, getting lost in a good book.
Okay, I'm sold on reading. What about happiness? That's the next section, right? Learning happiness. You mentioned Ravikant had to learn to be happy. That's fascinating.
He used to dismiss happiness as fluffy, unimportant, but over time realized it's a skill you can cultivate.
Mind over matter.
The mind is malleable, just like the body. We work on our physical selves, but neglect the internal work for happiness.
So how do we shift our mindset, cultivate more happiness? Where do we begin?
One key is happiness comes from within, not from external achievements.
So many of us think, I'll be happy when I get that promotion, or when I buy that house, then we get there.
And the happiness is still elusive.
Right.
Ravikant uses his own story. He had a huge success in business, but true happiness wasn't tied to those accomplishments.
So it's not about denying goals, but recognizing that true happiness is a different beast.
It's an inner peace and contentment independent of external stuff.
Easier said than done, right?
He emphasizes being present, living in the moment, no dwelling on the past or future worries.
Mindfulness, meditation, that sort of thing.
Exactly. He even suggests cold showers to build mental strength.
Cold showers. Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's about confronting discomfort, building resilience. You overcome the fear and realize you're stronger than you think.
Like a mini challenge that rewires your response to discomfort.
Exactly.
I like that. What other tips does he have?
He has this simple but powerful piece of advice. When faced with the situation, you can change it, accept it, or leave it. Anything else leads to misery.
Wow, that's hitting home. It's so easy to get caught up in wishing things were different.
Right, or trying to force situations to change when they're beyond our control.
This framework gives you a clear choice. Take action, accept it, or walk away. Simple, yet profound.
It takes the focus off complaining and puts the power back in your hands.
I'm going to try applying that to my own life. It seems like a way to shift perspective, find peace in the present moment.
It's about taking responsibility for our well-being. External achievements are fleeting. True happiness is an inside job.
Leads us perfectly to saving yourself.
Yeah.
What's Ravikant's take on that?
He emphasizes that ultimately we're responsible for our own well-being. Doctors, trainers, gurus, they can guide us, but the real work is internal.
We can't outsource our happiness.
Right. It's about conscious choices aligned with our values, prioritizing our physical mental health.
He's big on walking meetings, cutting back on sugar, being mindful of constant stimulation.
Absolutely. Practices that promote mental clarity, reduce stress, meditation, journaling, spending time in nature.
Create a life that supports you rather than depletes you.
Exactly. He sees physical and mental well-being as interconnected, essential for a fulfilling life. And a big part of that is being true to yourself.
He keeps coming back to authenticity, expressing our unique talents and passions. No one in the world is going to beat you at being you.
Powerful quote, right? Embrace your individuality. Stop trying to fit into someone else's mold.
It's about being the best you, not better than someone else.
And that brings us to the final section, philosophy, where Ravikant gets into those big life questions.
Okay, time to get philosophical. What questions does he tackle?
The meaning of life, the nature of reality, the importance of defining our values, all the good stuff.
The meaning of life. That's a heavy one. What are Ravikant's thoughts?
He offers a few perspectives. First, it's personal. Each of us has to discover it for ourselves. Keep asking the question, searching for an answer that resonates.
So it's more about the journey than the destination.
Exactly. But he also presents the nihilistic view, like no inherent meaning. We're just tiny blips in a vast universe. Our actions will be forgotten.
Okay, that's a bit dark.
But then he brings in science, talks about entropy, the heat death of the universe. Maybe the meaning is to accelerate that journey toward uniformity.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. So I've got the personal search, the meaninglessness, and the scientific view, quite a spectrum.
He lets us decide what resonates. But regardless, he stresses defining our values, living in alignment with them.
He talks about finding people who share those values, friends, partners, business collaborators. To get a worthy mate, be worthy of a worthy mate.
That's a good one. The quality of our relationships reflects our own values, the energy we put into being our best selves.
And that brings us to Naval's recommended reading list. He's clearly a bookworm and shares a wide range of influences.
Absolutely. Science, philosophy, history, self-help. He covers it all and emphasizes reading shouldn't be a chore. It should be enjoyable, a way to follow your curiosity.
He even admits to reading junk. Sometimes shows that even the greats need a break.
Cultivating a love of reading is a gift you give yourself. Expands your world, challenges your thinking, helps you grow in ways you never imagined.
So how does he approach reading? Any tips?
He's big on skimming and summarizing and get the key insights. Don't feel like you have to memorize every detail.
He's not afraid to put a book down if he's gotten the main message.
Right. Be selective, prioritize what's relevant to you. No need to finish every book you start.
That takes the pressure off. I feel like I have a stack of unfinished books haunting me.
He also says, explain what you learned to someone else. Teaching forces learning.
I like that it's about active engagement, making connections, applying those insights.
Turn knowledge into wisdom, into actions that improve your life.
And that's what makes the Almanack so valuable. It's not just ideas, it's a practical guide to a richer, more fulfilling life.
A roadmap to wealth, NED, happiness, building those meaningful relationships, finding your place in the world.
As we wrap up, I'm struck by Ravikant's belief in human potential. He sees a world where everyone can achieve their goals, live with purpose, and experience joy.
And the key to unlocking that is within each of us, lifelong learning, honing judgment, leveraging our strengths, cultivating specific knowledge.
What will you take away from our deep dive into Naval Ravikant? What resonated with you? What actions will you take?
Go back to the source material. Explore those books on his reading list that caught your eye. Keep this journey of growth going.
Let us know your thoughts. We love hearing how you're putting these ideas into practice. Because the true value isn't just the knowledge, it's the positive changes we make.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the mind of Naval Ravikant. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep. It's like he's saying knowledge is like money in the bank. The more you deposit, the more interest you earn.
And the more you can use that interest to invest in even more knowledge.
Right. It's compounding reading consistently exposes you to new ideas, different ways of thinking, and that's what sets you apart.
Especially in this age of information, overload the ability to synthesize and apply what you learn. That's becoming a superpower.
Absolutely. And he says, start with what you love. If you love sci-fi, dive in and see where your curiosity leads you.
Or if it's history, immerse yourself in biographies, learn from those who came before you. He makes clear that cultivating a love for reading is like giving yourself a key to unlock endless possibilities.
It's a superpower for sure. And you know what else? He says don't shy away from reading things you disagree with.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's about stepping outside your comfort zone, right? Exposing yourself to different ideas, different perspectives.
I think we all tend to get stuck in our own echo chambers sometimes. It's so easy to just surround yourself with people who think the same way you do.
Exactly. But true growth comes from challenging your own assumptions, being open to new ways of thinking.
So don't be afraid to pick up a book that makes you a little uncomfortable, a little bit like, I'm not sure I agree with this.
Exactly. And you might be surprised by what you learn. And Ravikant also has some really interesting thoughts on how W to read.
Yeah, he's not your typical read every word carefully kind of guy.
Right. He's all about skimming and summarizing, pulling out the key insights instead of getting bogged down in every detail.
He even admits to putting books down if he feels like he's gotten the gist of it. You don't have to finish every book you start.
Exactly. And it's kind of freeing, isn't it? It takes the pressure off. You can be more selective, prioritize what's most relevant to you.
Like a breath of fresh air from my to-read pile.
He also has this gem. Explain what you learned to someone else. Teaching forces learning.
I love that it's about actively engaging with the material, not just passively absorbing it.
Make those connections, share what you're learning, find ways to actually apply it in your life.
And that's what we try to do here on the Deep Dive, right? We take these complex ideas and break them down, make them relatable and actionable.
We want to spark those aha
Mm.
moments for our listeners.
So they can walk away with not just knowledge, but a sense of, okay, I can actually use this to improve my life.
Exactly, and that's what makes the Almanack of Naval Ravikant such a powerful book. It's not just theoretical, it's a practical guide to creating a life of both wealth and happiness.
It's like a roadmap to building meaningful relationships, finding your purpose, navigating the complexities of life, and coming out on top.
And as we wrap up, I'm really struck by Ravikant's optimism about human potential. He genuinely believes we can all achieve our goals, live with purpose, experience true joy.
He doesn't sugarcoat things. He acknowledges the challenges, but he has this underlying faith in our ability to overcome them, to create a better future for ourselves and for the world.
And he reminds us that the power to do that lies within each of us. It's about taking ownership of our lives, making conscious choices, and embracing the journey of lifelong learning.
So as we say goodbye to this deep dive into Naval Ravikant's world, what will you take away from it?
What resonated with you? What action will you take today to put these principles into practice?
Go back to the source material, dive into those books on his reading list that piqued your interest, keep this journey of exploration going.
Share your thoughts with us. Let us know what you're learning. We love hearing from you.
Because ultimately, the true measure of this deep dive isn't just the knowledge we've gained, but the positive changes we make in our lives as a result.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.